Hi friends, welcome to the Wild Side. I'm Steve Hall. Tiny and mysterious, playful yet elusive. We try to draw them in, but just as quickly they dart away. Their man-made feeders are bright and colorful, and surely you've seen them even if you don't own one. But how often, if ever, have you seen a hummingbird's nest and where it's hidden?
I'll pick some time throughout the day. I try to do it in the early mornings just because of the way the sunlight hits this hummingbird nest up here. It's easier to see through the scope versus later on in the daytime when there's too much shadow over the nest.
It takes wisdom, knowledge, and a good understanding of where to look in order to locate a little hummingbird nest on 1,300 acres of Radnor Lake State Natural Area.
Their camouflage is so great. They utilize it very well, so there's no way of knowing how many are actually here at Radnor.
Photographers are often the first to find the walnut-sized nests, but park rangers are also well-versed in the ways of wildlife.
We'll go out to different sections of the park that contain certain kind of vegetation that the hummingbirds enjoy feeding off of that have nectar. And some of those plants include crossvine, jewelweed, the honeysuckle vine. Even though we don't like it, the hummingbirds really like the honeysuckle. So we'll tend to watch those plants in those areas, and hopefully we see a hummingbird buzzing around them, and then we'll try to follow them back to their nest.
A keen eye and an incredible ability to follow a teeny tiny flight pattern, Ranger Teisha Steuben is eager to share all she sees.
I'm from Nebraska, and so I didn't grow up getting to see these kinds of things, and so when I moved here I started noticing them. I just kind of wanted to be a part of that and spreading the joy, and the way that people's face lights up when they look through the scope and they see the hummingbird up close with the nest is just, it's worth every minute of it. It's very, I love it. I love my job.
The Nebraska-born Tennessee park ranger is now at home hosting hummingbird walks every week when there's an active nest. Visitors can sign up for specific events or be the unanticipated recipients of her hospitality.
Would y'all like to see a hummingbird nest?
Waiting around for bird watchers is a lot like waiting for the hummingbirds. You never know when they're going to show up, but when they do, it's just as exciting.
I see it.
Yeah,
I see it.
it's right there.
I never would have known it was there otherwise, I'll tell you.
Right, it's great camouflage. They're really good at what they do. That's the nest.
Oh, that's so tiny.
Amazing.
Almost the size of a walnut on that branch.
So past where the two branches went up
Yeah,
and
it's
went down,
the
but
very
keep
next
coming
branch
further.
right
Yeah.
over.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen a hummingbird nest before. Like
Yeah.
I've seen them, but
Right.
I wouldn't have known that was a full-grown hummingbird.
Yeah, they're so tiny.
On this particular day, even Teisha is seeing something she hadn't necessarily expected. As she graciously assists us in getting the best possible pictures, she captures the first feeding of some hummingbird hatchlings.
She's feeding her hatchlings. She has hatchlings.
Her cell phone video basically goes viral right here among the walkers and wildlife watchers at Radnor.
I actually got her feeding her hatchlings if you want to check it out.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. The handy
That's
dandy
awesome.
phone attachment.
What time of morning was that?
This was just like a half hour ago.
A half hour, then an hour, maybe 3 or 4, and Teisha and the hummingbirds are still taking center stage.
So today is the first to see actually the feeding. So it's like a Discovery Channel on her phone. And she took that herself, so that's pretty great.
Teisha's also well educated in hummingbird habitat, and she can explain not only the materials used to make these amazing little nests, but the reasons why the birds do what they do.
It's an amazing little creation. It's definitely a work of art. So what they do is they'll take the lichen off the side of the trees. I don't know if you're familiar with the lichen, but it's the greenish blue stuff on the bark that you see. They'll take bits of the lichen and they'll weave it in it with spider web. They'll go rob spider web and they'll weave the lichen with the spider web, and they'll start sticking it to the side of the tree or the branch. They really like overhanging branches to kind of sway and just for camouflage purposes. But it's really fascinating why they actually use the spider web. It's not only adhesive for the lichen and for everything to hold together and stick to the sides of the tree, but they also use it so when the hatchlings grow, after they hatch and they start growing in the nest will expand as the hatchlings are growing. So it's very innovative, it's very fascinating.
An early morning invitation to see a hummingbird nest has takers standing in line, and no matter how many times Teisha tells where the nests are located, how they are made, or how many babies are born, it's always like she's telling the story for the very first time.
And so the females will have 2 to 3 broods a year, and it can be with different males throughout the year. Yeah.
And how big are those littles when they're born?
The eggs are a little bit smaller than the jelly bean.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that, Sissy? The eggs are a little smaller than a jelly bean. Oh.
This branch that's going over this way, right in the middle, you'll see a dark spot. And that's where she's sitting. That's a little nest right there.
Well,
Cool.
What do you think about that? Have you ever seen a nest?
no, and I even wondered where they nested. But I get out my feeders from tax day until Halloween, and they sometimes don't come until June. But I've had 2 this week.
Does Mommy have red on her breast?
No, she doesn't. She is a ruby-throated, but the females don't have the red because they need to be more camouflaged, because they're the only ones who actually make the nest, tend to the nest, and tend to the hatchlings. Right here, it's right above me, like right above me right there. This looks kind of like a goal or an abscess on the tree. So if you stand, come stand, and then look straight up. I think she's making sure everything's safe before she goes back there. She's going up to it. She's looking around, and there she goes.
A wise old owl stands watch in another part of the park, while a midland water snake lounges on a branch overhanging the lake, and his brother from another mother moves quickly for cover. A blue heron surveys the fishing, a chipmunk scurries along the walking trail, and the turtles take their time basking in the sunshine. It's just a typical day in a Tennessee protected natural area, with a little bit of extra hoopla happening all around the hummingbirds.
It's just the best. And the nicest thing is when you see a group of people gathered around something and you get to see wildlife in the wild. And these hummingbirds, oh, aren't they beautiful?
It's just an amazing, lighthearted feeling. Like, being out in nature is one thing, it's great, I love it, but when you actually get to see nature in its work and at its finest, it's like most beautiful moments like that, it's definitely, it's an indescribable feeling to me. And I love seeing that same look on visitors' faces when they've never seen hummingbirds before, and they love it. It's an incredible feeling, for sure.
1,300 acres, an unknown number of hummingbirds hatching in little hidden nests, and a park ranger who knows where to look. At Radnor Lake Natural Area, I'm Annette Noel Hall on the wild side.
Ranger Teisha Steuben makes sure that visitors know not to use colored dyes in their feeders at home. She says research shows that those premixed feeds can cause complications for birds and even reduce their lifespan. Proper vegetation is the best thing, but if you want to use a feeder, she says you can boil 4 parts water with 1 part sugar.